A very warm welcome and thank you for joining our session, Smart Cloud Spending, Leveraging FinOps and Usage Data Management in SAP BTP, offered by the Global User Groups organization. I have the pleasure of having here with me two great experts, Iran Lahav, Product Manager for SAP Metering and FinOps, and Willem Pardans, BTP Architect. Iran has over 10 years of experience with SAP, specializing in leadership of metering, reporting services, and the FinOps domain with SAP BTP. With a deep commitment to customer success, Iran believes that effective usage data management and financial operations are essential for maximizing value from BTP. Willem is a central contact for the SAP BTP and drives the conversation around this innovation platform with strategic customers and partners. Having hands-on experience with enterprise integration, application development, and data management, he can help convert a business idea into a solution architecture and MVP. And now, without further ado, over to you, Iran.
Thank you very much, Tanya. I will share. Okay. Perfect. Hello, everyone, and thank you very, very much for joining our Smart Cloud Spending and leveraging the FinOps and Usage Data Management service in SAP BTP. Tanya mentioned me and Willem are the developing of the application, but in here we will do a session that will broaden the scope of what is being capable today in BTP in all levels. And so there is also a place for you to ask questions in the chat. We will answer, and links that we will share, you can see it also there. So today we will discuss about general topics of what is FinOps, what is the usage data management service, key features in it, and also about the BTP cockpit, and of course, our FinOps application overview, and of course, a live demo. So feel free on any of these topics to ask us questions or to engage with us. Let's start. In SAP BTP, we learned that the financial operations domain is blooming, and we are seeing lots of different personas, lot of different functions within companies and customers who have different needs from their FinOps systems, and hence we created a solution per each of the types that we are working for. We can start with the first layer, the crawl, where we are saying those global accounts admins who needs to understand that the account is operated normally and the data flowing in, and they can see the reporting and analytics, and they can do like basic allocation of costs between their entities. We call it the crawl layer. And this is just keeping everything in place from a technical or from a general point of view. The second layer, where we call it walk, is meant for those business controllers, those colleagues in our companies who are interested in transforming and taking those usage and cost data and turning them into business value, and try to understand from them how to plan ahead, how to forecast future budgets, how to set a project within its budget. And in this layer, we are giving more tools for the controllers to handle it with their needs. This is the walk. And then the third layer, we call it run. And the run layer, we are targeting it for specific personas within our organization who want to maximize and wants to make informed decisions about how to spend the cloud budget, what services to use, how my licensing and optimization, what needs to be right size, is like waste management, etc. And we in SAP believe we can deliver tools and solution for all types of people who are engaging with BTP. So the first layer, the BTP cockpit. And the BTP cockpit, as you are all familiar with, has like a wonderful redesign, and features in it are flowing in, and lots of new capabilities in the export, in the presentation layer, in the interactivity with the tools and screens that you see. And you need to stay tuned. This is out of the box, open for everyone who uses BTP, and the user experience of it is amazing, and nice features are also planned ahead. In the cockpit, there is also an opportunity to take the data out, not just to see it, but to export it via an Excel, and you can see all the credit expenditure there. You can see the distribution of your cost, and you can see also the actual usage if you want it to be daily or monthly, and all the way up to the instance and the application level. And we are always improving this Excel and export. So if in your workflow you want to download it and upload it to business systems, we are putting labels there. We are aligning all data formats so you can do joins between the different data sets. And we are even, if you are having like a hybrid commercial contract, so we are also supporting these cost values as well. BTP cockpit, first layer. Second layer. So if the data or the presentation in the BTP cockpit is sufficient for the global account admins, we are saying the persona who wants more, who wants to take the data into their business systems, we have a service, a free service, which we called SAP Usage Data Management, and it will be always free. And basically, what this application, this service does is when you instantiate it, you get an API key, and you can retrieve all your usage, cost, credits data via API, and you could use it by connecting it to your different business systems like Power BI, like SAP Analytics Cloud, like Google Data Studio, and much more, even Microsoft Excel. And in it, there are 5 different APIs that we have in different format, but one can tackle only the credits usage, one can tackle the directory usage, the sub-account cost distribution, the monthly usage, or the sub-account usage. What was really interesting in it is that it's also on a daily level. So if the monthly usage is with the monthly value, the daily one can give you a daily real-time tracking to the consumption of the services that you are using. And of course, it's been tested. You can use it in SAP Analytics Cloud with OData formatting for live connectivity. If you connect it to your SAP Analytics Cloud tenant, or if you are using Aptio as a cloud cost management or Mesh Cloud for cloud architecture, our APIs works just fine also with that. Plus, in addition, we also connected behind the scenes with the SAP alert notification system. So if you're instantiating the alert notification system, and here I must also remind you that the alert notification system has a free tier. So you can instantiate the service using the free tier, which is free of charge for you. And we are embedding and connecting behind the scenes all your data and credits data set to alert notification, and with certain tags that you can find in the alert notification guidebook, you can set tags and get notification directly on credits, consumption, and bill items. And this is without even instantiating the usage data management service. So it's built in alert notification for you. And as you know, alert notification, you can connect it to whatever channel, email, Teams, Slack, webhooks, it's up to you. And then we have a new solution, which is, I think, already 1 year old. And this is the financial operation application that we developed. And the application that we developed really based on a small application that we started to develop a few times ago. And it's for like doing like a dynamic threshold in the notification, excluding several sub-accounts from your cross-charging activities, or creating a unique alert notification for a specific metric for a specific service in a specific sub-account. So once we completed this distribution of this small application, we said, why not combine all of them together for you? So our goal with the application, of course, is to be the single and central FinOps solution for all SAP products and beyond SAP even. But currently today, we're a solution that gives you the opportunity, if you have several contracts or in several global accounts, or your company have several subsidiaries which have their own global accounts, but you want to have a complete view on all of them. So the solution that we will present can connect all of those global accounts into one place. And you can do all the financial activity for all the global accounts in one place. Second, we are also having for you in this application a one labeling capability with no need to engage in different labeling services per the different BTP entities. So the system basically gives you a persistency layer when you can build all your metadata dictionary about how your global account is structured, how your project is structured. Very efficient, and we'll see it in a minute. And since this is a very important topic about shared resources, so we understand that sometimes two projects in your account can use the same resource if it's a persistency database or AI core or integration suite, but then the cost of this instance shouldn't be allocated to one of the projects and need to be split between those projects to use it, and we have a solution for this as well. All right. So the application, and of course you can see the link for it in the chat today. It's deployed on the Discovery Center by BTP. The name is Control Your Operational Cost, and basically up to 4 hours you can have it and it's up and running. And the link is in the chat as well. All right. So interestingly, we said the application is built out of several BTP services and can host more than one global account. So in order to do this, you can instantiate the usage data management service in each of the global accounts that you want to connect to the application, and just connect it to the one application you deployed in your own global account. So you don't need to deploy the application in each of your global accounts, just deploy our free service usage data management and connect the data to the application that it's running. Now, in the application, you will see also some optional services like SAP Analytics Cloud, where we have like deep links and embedded views of SAP Analytics Cloud inside the application. If you don't want to use SAP Analytics Cloud, we have the solution covered for you. There is always views and tools that doesn't use it. So it's optional here. And the wonderful thing in it, and so there's lots of wonderful things, but the wonderful thing that I'm addressing now is that since you are running it on your own HANA Cloud and you will have like a persistency layer just for the application, so instead of just seeing the data in a snapshot view, so just like pinging SAP in the cockpit or on the API and see what the data looks like today or right now, when you have a persistency layer, it's easy for you to keep all the data from every day and then do some forecasting, some visualization to how much you consume every time. So this is a very unique view of the data and the consumption that is very interesting for you. All right. The application, and in a minute we will also go to the demo. The application basically is distributed by the different financial operation tools and activities that we want you to have today. But before I'll touch it, I just want to say that the application today is also available at github.com in the SAP samples. So we believe that by taking it and deploying it in your own accounts, you can also extend it and develop more feature and add more customization that fits your own organization. So it's not here as a SaaS solution where all customers sees basically the same. We think that for this type of activity, it's better that you will have it on your own account, running it and customizing it at will for you. All right. Then, and of course, we will also enjoy if you can contribute to the GitHub, you can extend it, you can develop it, you can ask technical questions in it. We would love to hear it from you. So the overview, as named, just a total glimpse on the consumption and the forecasting and the cost of the services, the breakdown to the different sub-accounts, and the forecast of the credits consumption that you have, and also links to other reports in the application. Second, the billing verification, all about understanding the bill and the balance statement that you're getting from SAP, and you want to check if this is correct and if you were overcharged or if you see usage that you didn't meant it to be, and also the capability of forecasting. So by knowing your past month's consumption, we can also forecast it for you, and William will touch it. There is configuration that you can do also in the forecasting. So the billing verification also gives you the ability to see the cost breakdown by the BTP entities that you already know. So up to sub-account and even below space and even on the instance level. So we are doing the breakdown for all the levels for you. Then you can see the different charges on each item. Plus, you can see the whole expenditure of your credits and how much you are consuming each month and when you need to top up or to negotiate a new contract in order to bring more credits into your account. The tagging mechanism and the label mechanism basically offer a very robust feature that we have here for you for the first time. And it's about, first, tagging all the entities you see. All right, so you can tag from your global accounts to your instance. You can tag everything with any tag that you want. But since we are discussing this shared resource topic and we are saying, hey, maybe sub-account IT is being shared and needs to be cross-charged by several line of businesses and not just by one. So we created this managed tag for you, and this is the capability to split the cost between different line of businesses or different projects. You can set up to 10 different managed tags here, and you can say, all right, I want the line of business finance to cover 20% of the cost of this sub-account, while HR need to cover 35%. And of course, it's not just on the level of the sub-account, also on the space or also on the instance. A very robust capability that you can play with it, plus also the basic tagging like life cycle, test, dev, prod. It's here for you. Or if you're saying, hey, I have some quota from a subscription contract that I have, and this sub-account shouldn't be participated in the cross-charging activities, so you can exclude it in your calculation. And when you does it, and when you are modeling and tagging your resources, you can go to this cross-charging tab and then not seeing it only by the seeing the cost by the BTP entities, but seeing the cost by the tags that you put in. So you can see all the cost per finance, per HR, per sales, or per the different cost centers. Totally up to you, but basically get leveraging from seeing it as a what is in my account to how my company work. So with this capability, we can say, hey, model how your company work by project line of businesses, subsidiaries, and see the cost transform to it and not by how BTP and how the resources are modeled in the account. Last but not least is the alert mechanism. And in here, we took the alert notification service and a bit make it more robust offering by combining a few features in it. So of course you can do it on credits, on cost, on usage, on a service level, on a metric level. You can exclude certain sub accounts from the alerting, and you can have also, for the first time, a result that could be sent to you in the mail that alerting several services, not just tackling one. But if you want to include several services in the alert, you can do it. Lots of properties, lots of operators, lots of variables that you can play, a very robust element. And of course, it could be extended. So if the application is deployed for one person with his email, you can go into the alert notification, extend it, same as you're doing with UDM, with the usage data management. You can do also with here. You can set more hooks. You can ask more emails to join into the alert mechanism. Last but not least, the cost optimization. We're giving you some material here and basically about how to hibernate, how to terminate, how to do waste management. Lots of tips that we are want you to leverage in order to do the cost optimization, and more capabilities will be here soon. Before I'll hand over to Willem for the demo, I just want to make you aware that we started also an interest group on the SAP community, and it's called Cloud FinOps. And in here, we are posting all the discussion, the blog post, the knowledge that we are here on the domain at general and on the application particular. So you are most welcome to join and discuss it with us in here. With this, I would say that feel free with any question. And I think now we are ready to see the best of this FinOps application. And Willem, over to you.
Yes, thank you very much, Eran. I was just answering a question in the chat, and then I'll share my screen. So thank you for that introduction. Let me share my screen, and then I can actually take the audience through our application. So that should be visible now on your side. And what I would like to do is give you a brief overview of how the application looks and what you can do with it. Eran already described the different areas of the application, but it's always good to look at it more in detail to really see the ins and outs of it. I'd like to start with our brand new SAP community page, to which we put the link in the chat already earlier, because from here, all the different links that we will discuss and show are also linked. There is a page here that says FinOps Bookmarks Repository, and there, for example, you can see the session of today, but then also some links to the FinOps tool, where to find information, where to find the mission, where to find the GitHub, and also an installation video where I talk you through the different steps on how to deploy the application. So this you can all find here. Do please join and start some discussions here based on how you would like the FinOps application to work and how you actually approach FinOps within your organization. Now, from here, it links into the Discovery Center, which of course has then the project board with the different steps for you to deploy the application. And there's also something where we can always have a hands-on session if that is of interest to take you through these steps together and deploy it in your account. But for now, let's just take a look at the application on how it looks when you deploy it in your account. So when you look at the homepage, this is a default implementation. In the homepage, you have a few KPIs that we just show you to give you a gist of what the situation is in your account. So there is a list of the top 5 highest credit forecasts. So these are the BTP services that are consuming the most of your credits at this point in time in your entire global account. As Eran mentioned, when you deploy the tool in one of your sub-accounts in your global account, it can read and see the consumption of your entire global account. So even if you have a multi-tier setup, like a dev, test, QA production setup in BTP accounts, then you deploy it once and you can see actually all the consumption in the single deployment here in the tool. And you could potentially also add multiple global accounts. So at the moment, this demo instance is connected to a single global account. So I can, for example, see here the cost distribution and credit consumption through different sub-accounts that are in my account, different directories or different global accounts. Here it is one, and this could then be extended if it makes sense for you. You also have a quick view on the cost for the month to date. So today is the 13th of March. So we see here that there is a cost of $1,052 on this account, and we expect to end up at $1,550 towards the end of the month that we calculate as a forecast based on your consumption of your BTP accounts. So the application consists of multiple SAP UI5 applications. They are linked here. They're also linked through the menu on top. And so let's go through them because they each provide a separate angle of what kind of information and angle they try to depict. And the first area is what we call billing verification. In billing verification, we take a BTP service-centric look. So that means that we consider individual BTP services. We, for example, see HANA Cloud as a service, AI Launchpad as a service, and all the different services that are active in one or more of your sub-accounts in your account that are linked to the application. So if we take HANA Cloud, for example, and we drill into the details, then we can see a variety of data points. But for example, the most common and the most known to you will be the first one that says commercial metrics, because this is actually the metric that we use from SAP to also charge you for this service. So SAP HANA Cloud is expressed in capacity units that we bill you towards the end of the month for the consumption of this service. Now, behind the scenes, there are also technical metrics. These technical metrics you might be less familiar with, but they are the metrics that we from SAP use to actually measure your consumption. And because this is a data platform, these technical metrics are expressed in memory consumption, virtual CPUs, network traffic, backup storage, and those kind of things. You can monitor them here to see how your usage actually makes use of these technical capabilities. And they're just informational for you to have a look at. Now, of course, this is now an aggregated view across your entire landscape. And you already have a quick peek here in how this total cost here, cost to date of $294, how this is actually made up throughout your different directories or different sub-accounts that have a HANA Cloud instance up and running. Now, the extra detail sits behind each of the different metrics. So if we choose the commercial metric that we're familiar with, capacity units, we drill down, then we can actually see here the different directories, the different sub-accounts, and the different individual instances of HANA Cloud databases that we have up and running, and what the cost of each of them is. So we can understand where that $294 is coming from, which sub-account is contributing most, which sub-account is contributing less, and how is actually this cost aggregated from the different accounts where HANA might be up and running or where developers might have activated a HANA instance. So this is what you can see here, and you can also just look into the history to see how this cost of $294 has been building up throughout the month, because as we know, costs, they start on 0 at the beginning of the month and then they ramp up. So you can see here that, for example, on the 1st of March, we started with $21 and then it ramped up. And so this will continue towards the end of March. This will continue because, of course, we continue to use HANA Cloud as a service in this account because, for example, this FinOps application is deployed on this HANA Cloud database. And here we do actually also a prediction, a forecast. So we forecast that this contract will spend $702 on HANA Cloud towards the end of the month. How do we forecast this? This is a forecast that we do based on your input as well, based on your configuration, because every usage is different. Every customer, every organization might approach services different, or how they do their DevOps and operational procedures in how they manage their BTP accounts. So this is something where we actually take your input. If you go one level back onto the commercial metric here, there is a setting here that says forecast configuration. And this forecast configuration is actually a parameter for you to tell us how you want to forecast this service. So if you click on here, it allows you to set the forecast for this service. And there are three options. They might cover maybe 80 to 90% of the scenarios. Of course, we can always extend this list, and is also something where we can look at all of you in this call and our partner network to see where we could potentially use other algorithms or other mechanisms to do a more accurate forecasting. But at this point in time, we provide you with three options. Either you go for a time linear forecasting option. Time linear is just a very simple mathematical calculation to take your $294 today on the 13th of March. You divide this by 13, you multiply by 31, and that is your linear forecast towards the end of the month. This kind of makes sense for a service like HANA Cloud, because HANA Cloud is expressed in capacity units, and capacity units, they are charged based on the number of hours that the database is up and running. So if you keep your database up and running 24/7, which is a kind of default lazy approach to having a service, then this has quite a linear aspect. So a time linear aspect or time linear mathematical calculation of the forecast could make sense here, and that's what I configured for this service. Now, if it is not linear, you can deviate from this linearity and choose, for example, time digressive. Time digressive allows you to set a certain parameter. If you set this factor to 1, you still have linear. If you choose a value above 1, then it becomes a progressive curve, so an accelerated increase of costs. This is something where, for example, you have services that initially have a free allowance. For example, integration suite messages. You get 10,000 messages per month per tenant that you deploy free of charge. So it means that the first 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 messages, they're not counted. Now, the moment that you consumed that allowance, then of course your consumption of that metric will ramp up, and it will be more accelerated than the flat curve of 0 in the first week or so. So this could be an accelerated curve. If you put this value lower than 0, you can actually have a flattening curve. This could be relevant for services like SAP Workzone, active users, because active users, we only count a user the first time they log in during a given month. So that means that towards the first half of the month, we will have a lot of unique users. Towards the second half of the month, we expect that most users already access the application earlier. So these are recurring users. They don't trigger new licenses. So this could be a flattening curve. So this is just for you to play with. It's also not a hard science. And it doesn't matter that you kind of made a mistake here, or you set it and you try these different settings. You can just play with these numbers and see where they end up with your forecast, because the moment you activate this, you see what your forecast will do. And then you can see how, for example, this forecast of 455 maps against your history of how actually your actual consumption tracked throughout the month. So this is just an area for you to play around and change these values depending on how you see your consumption behaving for a specific service. A last option to choose here is excluded. Excluded is something where we say, okay, we don't manipulate the values, we don't calculate anything, we just take what is for granted. And this could, for example, make sense for integration suite tenants. Integration suite tenants is typically something that is not changed over time. Once you have your setup of 3-4 tenants for dev, test, production, then that is fairly stable. So if you start your month with 3 tenants, you typically end your month with 3 tenants as well. So if you choose excluded as a forecasting method, then whatever is there on the first, we take as forecast towards the end of the month as well as your cost for that service. So these are 3 options for you to configure forecasting. But again, as mentioned, I mean, especially today in the area of machine learning and AI, and you don't even have to be that complex. It can be quite simple kind of forecasting based on time models. You can extend this with other models as well, or other algorithms. And that's actually where, for you, we keep this code open. So you can make changes to the application, you can extend the application, you can contribute to the Git repository where we host this application for you, or we host the code for you. So this is an area where we can just allow you to put your input to come to maybe more accurate forecasting models as well. So this is very quickly billing verification, allowing you to see how an individual service is used throughout your sub-accounts, what the metrics are that we use to charge you for, and what the metrics are underneath, which are more technical of nature, and allowing you to set forecasts so the tool can actually do a certain calculation based on your consumption paradigm, what the forecast would be for this service for your accounts. So this is a very service-centric view. HANA Cloud isolated, regardless of what sub-account it sits in. And that's a view that we turn around in the second area. In the cost breakdown, we actually mimic your account structure. We're now going to look at your sub-accounts, at your directories and your individual services in those accounts to see what each of those cost. We no longer have a view of what HANA Cloud is costing you, but at least we have a view of what a specific sub-account is costing you based on each of the individual services that are active in those sub-accounts. So for example, here we see our single global account connected to the tool, which is the demo industries global account, in which you have a multitude of directories. And for example, the sub-account IT, that is a sub-account in which I deployed this exact FinOps deployment. You can see it here in the URL as well. It says IT dash and then the account. So in the sub-account IT, this is where the application runs, and the application requires a bit of Cloud Foundry runtime. It requires Business Application Studio. It requires a job scheduling service, and it requires build workzone. It's also using HANA Cloud. Now, HANA Cloud is not used in this sub-account. It's being reused from a different project in a different sub-account. So this is in data dev, where we're using the HANA Cloud database. Now, regardless of what this application is using, in this structure, you actually see for each of the sub-accounts the services that are active and what each of these services are costing you. Again, here, month to date until the 13th of March. This also has a monthly view where you can actually look at these costs on a monthly basis. But the concept is the same. It looks at your account structure and then lists out the different services. And for some of the services, also the individual kind of instances that are active in that service to see what the cost of each of them are. So again, here for this FinOps application, which is deployed in sub-account IT, there's actually a CAP application. And if you're familiar with CAP deployments, you might be familiar that it comes with a service application and a database deployer application. So there are 2 applications deployed here. One is up and running and one is stopped because it's just a deployment application. So the one is generating costs and the other one is not. So this for you to have insight actually in what sub-account IT is costing you or what sub-account data dev is costing you. So this is mimicking your account structure. Now, if we then take a look at your contract and want to see what each of these consumptions, whether it is by service or by sub-account, what that means on your consumption contract, then you can look at the credit expenditure screen. And here we actually draw out your contract and your credit line in the contract. So this is now a demo contract with $10,931 credits in the beginning of the contract term that you see actually being booked off month by month by the consumption that there is on the account with a potential overcharge towards the end of the month. This is just a demo account, so here the graph is maybe not as neat as it will show on your hand, but at least it depicts the concept that you have your credit line, which gets lowered every month and then makes a certain forecast. So this is based on the forecast configuration that you do in billing verification, on what that would mean on your contract towards the end of your term, the 12 months probably after starting the term. It also gives you a quick peek on how these contract bookings refer or relate to the individual charges. And this is a very quick comparison where we actually compare the sum of all the individual service instances in your global account. If that sum matches what you see on your bill, which we call final credits. So this should match. It always should match. Your bill should match with what we see in your account. If it doesn't, it highlights the difference and gives you a opportunity to reach out to SAP to maybe discuss where the discrepancy is coming from. Maybe we forgot to bill you for something, then you're one of the lucky ones. Maybe we overcharged and we can rectify it the month after. But this is just out of transparency where we provide the screen to you to actually contrast the sum of all the credit consumptions we see versus what we see on your final bill, and they should be fairly aligned. A next area is very interesting when it now comes to how you will hold your projects, cost centers, line of businesses accountable for the costs that they generate on the global account. So this is using a concept of tags, managed tags or custom tags. So again, we mimic the account structure here because we allow you to tag different areas of your account and different individual services with specific business tags. By default, we implement and we deploy 2 tags, line of business and cost centers. But you can configure up to 10 different of these managed tags. Managed tags are tags that you can actually allocate a value to and distribute the value through a variety of different owners that might make use of this account with a certain percentage allocation. For example, if we feel that the sub-account IT and all the potential services underneath, any cost that comes into the sub-account IT, if we want to distribute that cost through different line of businesses in our organization, we can tag this sub-account IT, for example, with the sales line of business should receive 70% of this cost. HR should receive 15 and finance should receive also 15. So we hold them accountable for 15% or 70% of the total cost of this sub-account. So these 2 managed tags, you can distribute them based on coming to a sum of 100% on how you distribute these costs through cost centers, line of businesses. You can extend this to departments, cost owners, projects, and whatnot. Then we also have an unlimited feed of custom tags that you can assign. These are more binary. Either you assign or you don't assign. There is no percentage-wise allocation. But for example, to give you a peek here, as I mentioned, this FinOps tool is deployed in the sub-account IT. So what I did is every service that this project is using, and I called it the monitoring project, I tagged it with this tag. So it means that I tagged Business Application Studio, I tagged Cloud Foundry Runtime, destination service, that's always free of charge, job scheduling, work zone, and also the HANA Cloud from the other sub-account. So that means that if I now were to go and look into what the project monitoring is costing me, I can see what actually the deployment of this tool costs to me as part of the entire charges that we saw on the credit expenditure. So that we can see in the kind of end user view of this tag manager, because it's just to manage the tags. Behind cross-charging, there are different modules here. And let me maybe take out of interest an SAC dashboard, because the application is also available through SAC. And this is now an area that where we see the value of these SAC dashboards being linked throughout the tool, where we can actually see from an end user point of view, or maybe from a monitoring project owner, what the project is costing me, or what the kind of BTP admin is going to charge me out of his total bill that he got from SAP. So here we choose, for example, the tag project, and then in the values, I only want to see the monitoring project because that's what I'm responsible for. And then maybe for the year, let's pick last year so I have more information. And then we can see here that this tool was deployed in the month of May. So since the month of May, it has been generating costs or attracting costs. And we see this cost actually evolving and stabilizing throughout the months. We see that, for example, if you take an example of October, the total cost is $545 for the month of October, made up out of 186 in sub-account IT, coming from some of BAS. No, I didn't use BAS in October. I was not a developer. Only in the beginning I developed, and then I didn't use BAS. So just Cloud Foundry Runtime, Job Scheduling Service, and Workzone. And then, of course, also HANA Cloud is contributing a little bit of costs to it, giving me a total bill, internal bill, cross-charged bill of $545. So this could be an end user view, a cost owner kind of view. So this is available to the different cost owners that you might want to give access to. They can either use the FinOps tool here and access it through Workzone in this FinOps tool and access it the same way as I'm showing you here, or they can go straight into SAC and open the story there and look at the same information. It just depends on the role access to provide to them or which kind of complexity you want to expose. Maybe you don't want to expose all of this complexity to your project owners, line of business owners, and just the SAC dashboard. That's also possible. Then only the BTP admin and developer and kind of person that would configure the tool in the forecasting configuration would need access to the individual applications. The end user would just have the SAC dashboard. And then the last area is the monitoring and alerting. And this is where we can be, or where the tool tries to be proactive in alerting you and notifying you when things go maybe not according to plan. So here you can create as many different alerts as you wish, and to maybe open a sample alert. If there is a alert where you configure that you say, I want to actually keep track of my commercial metrics, not technical ones under the hood, just the commercial ones, because I am looking at my wallet. I'm interested in not being notified if I have to pay more for something. And for example, I want to be notified for any kind of service in any sub-account or any directory. I'm not going to filter anything here, just take everything in my global account. But I want to be notified if maybe there is a service that is costing me more than $100 for the month, and a forecast that is above 100%. So a forecast percentage is a data point that we calculate by comparing the current forecast. So what is my service going to cost towards the end of March? We compare that with what has the service costed me any of the previous months. So that means that any value on or below 100% would mean that the consumption for this month is the same or lower as any of the previous months. If this goes above 100%, then it's actually an increased consumption compared to the past. This could potentially lead or identify spikes. If you see a service going to 120, 130, 200%, that means it is ramping up. Maybe there's a good reason for it. It's not always a reason to panic. Maybe it's something that is consuming something for no reason, and it is meant to be looked at and maybe mitigated. But you can put different thresholds here. There's a variety of data points to choose from, and you can set these values. And whatever you choose here, I put it back to the forecast percentage. Whatever you put here as thresholds, we immediately do a simulation. If this were to be your configuration, what would be the alert today if this would run? And then we see, for example, here in my Exploration Sandbox sub-account, there is a service called AI Launchpad, and I'm paying $616. I'm expecting to pay $701 towards the end of the month. So I am alerted because 701 is more than 100, and my forecast 110% is also more than 100. So this would be an email I receive every time that these alerts are being analyzed, and they're analyzed every time the data refreshes. And by default, it is vanilla implementation. The data refreshes every 3 hours because there is a job scheduler that runs behind. Every 3 hours, day and night, it refreshes your data points to warn you and alert you the moment that maybe something is consuming more or less as you want to have. Some of our customers, they look at this from a kind of entire holistic global account in one alert, like I configured here. So I don't filter anything. Others, they have very specific alerts. They say, in my production sub-account, I want to be alerted if someone activates a second instance of HANA Cloud, because they shouldn't, right? So you can make very tailored alerts here. You can then go into sub-account, you say, I only want to include a specific sub-account, for example, my data store production, and then be alerted if my service HANA Cloud is moving from, for example, $500 to $1,000, or from 1 instances to 2 instances. So you can make very tailored alerts, or you can keep it very generic as a catch-all kind of on your contract. If my monthly spend is going above a threshold of, let's say, $4,000, $10,000, $15,000, then I want to be alerted. So it's completely up to you how you configure those, and you can create as many as you want. Also, if you want to play around with them, you can disable them, just not to have them run and send out alerts. And then, as Eran mentioned, there's a last area in the tool that talks about cost optimization. These are just some information points that we put on the screen here, are also a bit placeholders. Again, if we delve into the topics of how potentially AI could assist us in doing analysis of alerts, analysis of forecast, calculations of patterns, looking at spikes, abnormalities, there are different things we could potentially plug in here. So this cost optimization is also an area where we could plug in different tools and areas to extend the tool to provide guidance to say, hey, by the way, you're using 2 instances, maybe consolidate to 1, or why is your HANA Cloud app running at night when I don't see any application connecting to it? Those kind of things we can always plug in here. But at the moment, it is purely informational placeholders to get that conversation going. And so this brings me back to then where I started with the community, which is brand new. We created this 2 weeks ago. We invite you all to join, and we also invite you to open any kind of discussion on how you see FinOps relating to BTP in your organization, to also use as input for potentially future developments on this tool. The tool is published as open source, so you can make your own changes. We will also make some changes on our side. So it's really a collaborative environment, but we really look for that kind of open conversation. This is not something where we say, oh, we SAP, we know best how you have to do FinOps, and this is the tool you're going to use, full stop. No, that is not how we approach this. We invite you to collaborate with us on this. So for example, if you see here, one of the last posts of Eran was to also have a call to action on how you potentially have shared instances and how you distribute cost of shared instances. For example, HANA Cloud databases, integration suite tenants that are being used by different projects, different line of businesses, and different departments. How do you approach these kind of things? Let's have a discussion around that, and let's brainstorm together, and then we can see where we can actually augment this FinOps application to make sure it really does add value to how you approach this FinOps topic in your organization. Okay. With that, I'd like to open it for questions. There might be questions on the chat. There is also a quick Menti that I will put on the screen in the meantime. I will put a link to the Menti in the chat as well. But apart from that, let's open it for Q&A.
Thank you very much. Even you have watched the chat. I saw that some questions are still open. Do you want to take them over? Or do you want me to ask them?
Yes. So Elin says, sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. The question is, what is the difference between the usage analytics on BTP Cockpit and the UDM data? Basically, no difference. The UDM data also brings this usage and cost data to the cockpit. What you can get from the UDM is just to get the data programmatically via APIs, and you can query it differently, and you can ping it differently. So you won't need to, or just look at it as you're doing in the cockpit, or downloading a CSV and then uploading it to a different business system. You can connect, you can take those REST APIs and connect them directly to Excel for your choice. Hope I answered it. But
Johan,
basically,
let me
same data.
quickly interrupt. Perhaps now, Willem, you showed the QR code and the link and shared the link in the chat. Maybe you want to unshare so our attendees can see you better.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
So Francisco Fernandez Hansen asking, and again, sorry if pronouncing it wrong, are you planning to have APIs to include SAP ERP on-premise consumption analysis in the FinOps tool? Francisco, I will say this is the holy grail. This is what we are wishing to have. Yeah, we are wishing to bring all consumption data into this tool, and hopefully. Thank you. Maybe another question, and I hope I answered it for Hi Mackenzie. And Hi Mackenzie asking if I hope it's about the FinOps app would deploy BTP service like HANA Cloud, which cost money, $sign. Are there estimates on the cost induced by running these FinOps apps in BTP? So, hi, yeah, there are costs generated, but as mentioned before, some of the services have a free tier so you can use, but the application doesn't require a new installation for all the services. If you have already HANA Cloud deployed or WorkZone, you can just make room for another DB schema or one for another portal in the WorkZone. You don't need a dedicated instance just for the application. So it could be a very much lower in cost if you're already using the service, and the top up by using the application, you won't feel it very much on the HANA Cloud side. Francisco, again, are you interested in collaborative development for this function? Definitely. So this is our main wishful here, that this is open source. If you are, you can download it, you can develop a new application that brings ERP data into it, and if you push it back to the GitHub, it will be available for everyone. Our wishful thinking here, you can go right ahead. I see there is no more. Maybe one question from my side about what we discussed about the resources, the shared resources. And in here, I would like to mention, thank you, Francisco. I would like to mention that so the shared resource is a concept, and we are talking it in our community group that could be worked around. So if you will get into each of the service cockpit, so the integration suite cockpit or the HANA Cloud cockpit or the AI Launchpad, and you can bring some data from this cockpit, let's say about the number of messages per iFlow IDs, you can take this data, persist it as managed tags, or if you want even to create like an operator workflow, taking the data from this cockpit, persisting it in the app, and then you will have a breakdown, not just by the whole integration suite instance, but by the level of integration flow IDs that you are running. One more question is from Mobile. Is there FinOps? Is there any FinOps offering for Rise? Maybe I'm not. We can ask the Rise team, but we did it for BTP. But again, if you want to take this framework and connect it to the Rise thing, no problem. Another question. Thank you, Ahmad. Will it show the contract numbers related to the service and also the contract and/or renewal dates? If you mean to the previous conversation that we had in the chat about your old global account or your active global account for the past 5 months, yeah, if you will connect it and you will fetch all the data from the credits API, you will get all the contract numbers, the phases, and the consumption that you had in each phase. I'm not sure about like renewal date or contract date, which is more of a contractual legal terminology, but definitely whatever we are giving on the consumption of the credits, you will have it.
Okay, I think we have all questions answered. We're now almost on top of the hour. So in case any other questions pop up, feel free to ask them in the comments area underneath the description of this video. And we will definitely look at them and answer them. And so, yeah, I would like to repeat what Francisco said. Thank you so much for your brilliant and excellent presentation. I also enjoyed it very much. And of course, a big thanks to all attendees for joining. And I hope you got a lot of value from this session and look forward to seeing you again in one of our other sessions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And with this, have a great day, have a great evening, depending on where you are. Bye-bye.